Hello, everybody. Good Wednesday evening, and welcome to What's the Obsession live stream, chat, and discussion tonight about the reopened investigation into the death of Stephen Smith, who was, many people believe he was murdered in 2015, not far from Moselle, which was the property that the Murdochs or some of the Murdochs lived on most of or some of the year. Things get very confusing very quickly. But tonight we have some news, some new things happening, and there are a lot of details related to the 2015 investigation and the new reopened investigation that it seems people aren't really piecing together. I promise you, when we piece these little tidbits together, it creates a picture that is very clear. I don't know if you guys had a chance to see the video that I uploaded. I think it was yesterday. About a third of the story that I have to tell was in that video. So, let me just say hi to some people really quick. Hi, guys. Hey, Jeannie, how are you doing? K-Braze, Ara, how are you guys doing? So nice to see you. I was going to text many of you guys, but it's always a live stream. I went out to the market. Battery on my car died. Can you believe that, Jeannie Ramsey? Yeah, my battery died. I've had some car trouble recently. And then I was driving home, and it was like Moses parting the red freaking sea. Here in upstate New York, you never know what the sky is going to open up and do. And the variety for this evening was torrential downpours flooding the streets of my little town. So anyway, I'm so glad you guys are here. Hey, Joan, how are you doing? Hi, Jody is cool. So nice to see you guys. And I also saw Molson Man. And Molson Man, I did not get your email. I must have overlooked it, which was totally not intentional. My email has been blowing up. I think I'm going to have to create a little sub account for the channel. But I will respond right after this. Hi, Larry NC. How are you doing? Welcome. How's it going? And let's see here. Just scroll up a little more. To say hi to you, Gregory. You're priceless. I'm so happy you're here. And Utter, too. All the same to you, my friend. And I hope Macrotus J is still here. Checked in a little while ago. First one here. Thank you for being punctual. And Validation Boy, how are you doing? Nice to see you too. Let's see. Edward, how's it going? Welcome. Nice to see you also, my friend. Oh, all these wonderful people. I just love you guys. It's so great to see you. All right. So, and Ara, I've seen your uploads about the Kylie Rodney case. Still, Ara on her channel. Everybody, I think most of you here are subscribed and you know about it. If you're not, definitely go check it out and subscribe. She's doing wonderful deep dives into the Kylie Rodney case, which is something that really needs to be done. And yeah, I appreciate what you're doing. Everyone go check it out, please. DC Primetime. Oh, my girl. I'm so glad you're here. I was so happy to get your email the other day. I have some stuff to tell you too. Yeah, we got to talk. Hi, Kathy Austin. Welcome. How are you doing? Nice to see you here and so glad that you're here. All right. So, hey, let's see. Luann Hunter, how's it going? Welcome to What's the Obsession live stream and chat. I know. And the channel name is officially going to be changing within the next 2 weeks. I have a rollout plan. Moderators, I'm going to shoot you an email very soon because I want to tell you everything before others. And I'm really excited about it. So look forward to that. And we'll be doing some live streams. I have subscriber member giveaways, just some fun things to get everyone involved. And so I can say thank you guys so much for being here and being awesome. Hey, Connie Cruz, welcome. How are you doing? Nice to see you. All right. So, oh gosh, where to start? All right. So, this past weekend, the remains of Stephen Smith were exhumed, and there is no report or opinion that's rendered from this second autopsy just yet, but it seems like it's on the horizon from all of the buzzing and whispering and shouting that we can hear. Sounds as though that's going to be coming out very soon. But the people who are involved in the second autopsy or this, second edition of the Stephen Smith death investigation that never should have happened. We never should have had to have had a second edition, and that was so clear, but it is what it is. And we pray for justice for Stephen and peace for his mother, Sandy. So, all revenue from this live stream and half of the revenue from all of my Stephen Smith case uploads is going directly to Sandy Smith. So if you want to contribute that way through a super chat or super thanks, you're welcome to. If you feel more comfortable going directly to her GoFundMe page, please do that too. It doesn't matter to me. I just want to make sure that this woman feels loved and supported and that she stays strong so she can do what she needs to do. I have to get that link. Yeah, but if anyone has that link, go ahead and pop it in chat. If not, I will go find it when I have a moment. Hey, Rockaways, how's it going? Nice to see you. All righty. So, oh, yeah. Jeannie says, felt like there's a hole in the channel without you, DC Primetime. I totally agree. I totally agree. Oh, God, you guys are so crazy. You guys are just the best. Oh, my gosh. Okay, so do you guys know who is leading the, do we call it a crime scene? Or do we call it the place of the accident, the vehicular accident that took the life of Stephen Smith? I'm just going to call it a crime scene because that's how I think of it. I feel it's just so certain that the place where Stephen Smith lost his life was, in fact, a crime scene. So do y'all know who is the lead investigator who is doing the crime scene reconstruction and analysis? Drum roll, please. Does anyone know? Does anyone know? Does anyone know? Because it's no, thank God, DC. It's not. Well. Wait, we're gonna have to explain that. Yeah, okay. So SLED, you find SLED, right? But there is an independent investigation running at the same time. He's referring to it as somewhat of a parallel investigation. You got it, Kathy Austin. Ding, 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 ding. Let's hear from the man. That's right, Pam. Welcome. Nice to see you. I'm going to play a little clip of him talking. This is from 3 weeks ago. We're going to lead up to today. But I just want you to hear some things that he has to say right here, okay? Oops, I didn't mean to remove that. Got to bring it back in. Okay. There we go.
Quick, Kenny, because you were under the spotlight in that trial. The jurors wanted to meet you when it was over. You went and met.
Oh, guys, in case you don't know, Dr. Kenneth Kinsey was the, in my opinion, superstar, breakout star of the Alec Murdoch double homicide trial. And to me, he was the most amazing, compelling witness where you're like, hook, line, and sinker, baby. He's got it down, and I am a believer.
Them. How are you doing now? I mean, you are under so much pressure. Have you had a chance to take a break?
Brian, I'll start with my team first. As I've mentioned, my team here at home, I couldn't have taken myself away from my duties for 5 or 6 weeks without having a great team here at home. The AG's office were second to none. The SLED Low Country agents and the laboratory, SLED in general, in my opinion, did a great job. They welcomed me back and they were so helpful in my examination of the evidence. The jurors are my heroes. And as I said, I wouldn't question their verdict one way or the other. I'm so glad I didn't have to make that choice. But it ripped my heart out in a good way when they wanted to meet me that morning. That's never happened in my career. And they thanked me. And
yeah, it's very unusual. Yeah.
That means more than anyone could ever know. But I wanted to thank them. They wanted to thank me. But definitely, I didn't deserve a thank you because they put their life on hold for 6 weeks. And for that, we all owe them a debt.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Kenny and Steve, thank you both for your time tonight. We appreciate you coming on. I'm sure we'll be in touch as these other cases hopefully start to unravel.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you for.
Oh boy, Ash. Oh my God. You guys know, I've talked about Ashley a few times, right? So, my feelings. come on. Would you ever, in your wildest dreams, interrupt that precious man, Dr. Kenneth Kinsey? Would you ever interrupt him if you were interviewing? If you had the immense privilege of interviewing him, I would never, ever, ever, ever. Let's see if this is the right one. Yeah. But maybe others don't feel that way. Maybe others don't have the same level of respect and reverence for this brilliant man of justice.
But what happens in that autopsy after 8 years of decomposition? Can forensics really help here? Joining me now is Dr. Kenny Kinsey. He's a forensic crime scene analyst who has worked over 850 death cases. His testimony helped convict Alec Murdoch, and he has since been retained to lead a new investigation into the death of Stephen Smith. Dr. Kinsey, thank you so much for being here. First question, it's the most important one. Do we have any results of what the medical examiner found this weekend?
Actually, we have preliminary results, but I'm going to let Mr. Bland put those out public. I have no report yet or no final report.
Is it at least helpful in terms of suggesting this was not a hit and run and in fact was a murder? Maybe there was actually a murder weapon?
Well, I think everything is still on the table. And as I've explained to several other folks today, it can still be a hit and run and be wrong, be criminally wrong. And I'm not saying that it is a hit and run. I'm just saying I'm trying to leave all my options open because I have to have an open mind with the part and the task that I have. But if someone took this young man's life and knew about it and left the scene, it's just as criminal as if they would have beaten him somewhere with an object.
Sure. Dr. Kinsey, I know that there was some discussion in the funeral home among some of the highway patrollers that it looked as though someone had taken a baseball bat to Stephen. Did the medical examiner this weekend determine something different than the medical examiner determined 8 years ago?
I wasn't given any difference in the blunt force trauma that Mr. Smith suffered. As I said, my job, I've been in Hampton almost all day on Saturday, and my job was.
Now, I have a question for you guys. What he just said right there with now, again, the second autopsy report results, the report has not come out. There are no results. There is no official opinion yet. So I listened to this a couple times and I was wondering if what he just said right there indicates that the opinion was blunt force trauma as opposed to gunshot wound. Just let me go back a couple seconds. Take a listen again.
Given any difference in the blunt force trauma that Mr. Smith.
I gotta go back a little bit. Yeah. You hear that? Is he
years ago?
I wasn't given any different in blunt force trauma that Mr. Smith suffered. As I said, my job, I've been in Hampton almost all day on Saturday, and my job was to re-verify or rework every aspect of that, of those two scenes rather. And it kept me pretty tied up. I had access to the information from the autopsy, but as I told Mr. Bland and Mr. Richter, the pathologist they have is very capable and documents very well. So I'll work off of whatever that pathologist collected at the autopsy. But my part was to verify.
I was going to say, were there any surprises, Dr. Kinsey? Were there any surprises by that pathologist?
As far as I know, no, ma'am. But like I said, the final report isn't here yet, and I'm expecting that final report would tell us a little bit more. I do know it was a success. They said they did collect evidence. It was very good documentation, and everybody was upbeat about the information that was collected. And that's not always the situation when you exhume someone after so many years. But they said they had everything.
8 years. 8 years, Dr. Kinsey. Will we be able to determine something positive and something that's actually productive after 8 years of decomposition?
Well, I don't want to take it the wrong way, but I'm very, very excited about the report coming, and the pathologists were very upbeat and said they had everything they needed to do a proper examination of Mr. Smith. So I didn't hear any negative about that, and they were, saying that it was very good situation for the Smith family and for the investigation. So I've got my fingers crossed, and I'm looking forward to hopefully we can get the Smith family some answers.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider, and don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get.
I don't know. I was reading some of your comments. I don't know if that was the one where she cut him off. I was like, wow, dang. All right, so let's see. I want to address some of the comments here because we like to represent all opinions on this channel for sure, and that's how we find truth and what's real and what's good and amazing. Yeah. Hey, AF, how are you doing, my friend? Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. So I don't know if you know this, but he is, well, SLED is, the lead on the investigation into the second death investigation of Stephen Smith. But Dr. Kenneth Kinsey is doing a parallel independent investigation as he was asked to do. He's not like going rogue, which I am so super glad about. I'm making a video about this and the autopsies and the death investigations. And I know I've repeated that idea in my last couple uploads, but guys, I think that there are some issues there that are really important to wrap our heads around. And I'm going to keep pointing them out until people are talking about it. Because what stands in the way of, oh God, I don't want Ashley up there. Sorry, girlfriend. I just, we had a falling out, Ashley. I'm sorry, babe. Later. What the devil's in those details, and that's for damn sure. And those details are what stands in the way of possible justice for Stephen Smith, and peace for his mother, and justice for Mallory Beach, and peace for her mother and her family and her dad, and hope for South Carolina residents that their justice system is going to improve, and hope for people in this country that all things are not going to hell in the handbasket for real, and hope for people across the world that we can have a say in how our society works, and we can coexist with the spirit of humanity guiding us rather than everything evil, which is represented by Alec Murdoch, right? Did I say it right, everybody? All right. So, So, thank you so much for the super chat. Love your channel. Excellent investigative reporting. Thank you so much, AF. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate your comment earlier. It means a lot to me. And thank you for sharing the upload I put up earlier. I definitely put about 40 hours of work into that one, researching and rechecking and putting it together and editing it. It's only a 21-minute video, but that's what it takes, as you know, DC Primetime, right? Thank you very much, AF. I appreciate it. And all revenue from this live stream this evening and half of the revenue from all of my Stephen Smith related uploads is going directly to Sandy Smith because she needs to be supported in every way, shape, and form right now. So you're welcome to super chat, super thanks. I promise you it'll go right there. I leave receipts. If you'd feel more comfortable going directly to the GoFundMe page for Sandy Smith, I encourage you to do that. Whatever you feel most comfortable doing, please support Sandy Smith. All right. And Utter, I think, has, if you could drop that link directly to her GoFundMe again, Utter, that would be so amazing. He doesn't even know. And Miguel says, don't worry, Kelly, he doesn't even know how to say his name. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So funny. Comments on my videos. Oh, wow. You say it any which way, you're going to get in trouble by someone. Wow. Yeah. So let's see. Hi, Michaela. How are you doing? Welcome. Nice to see you. Aw. Oh, from Taiwan. Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. Wow, that's awesome. Welcome. Glad you're here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, Tammy Lynn, how are you doing? Nice to see you. Okay, so now I want to take a look at, or take a listen to somebody else speak about this second autopsy, which just happened on, what did they say? He was exhumed on Saturday. He was taken for the remains, I should say, were taken for the autopsy and was, respectfully, and the remains were respectfully and immediately returned to the resting place. So this is just a few days ago. We should be expecting that autopsy report coming up real soon. But in the meantime, here we go. Let's take a listen to this. Now, listen carefully. I am not going to offer any opinionated comments. I would like to know what you guys think about what this woman has to say. Oh, DC Primetime, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you so much for supporting justice for Stephen Smith and peace for Sandy. That is so super amazing. And thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I know she will too. I can't even imagine I started out a video, I haven't uploaded it yet, but when I was specifically talking about this topic, I started out a video talking about how ever since I heard that this woman started a GoFundMe for the purpose of having her child's remains exhumed, I can't get over that. I cannot get over that. And I cannot get over why this woman has had to go through all of this pain and suffering, including 8 years of heartbreak and having I'm sure, giant void in her life and her heart without any answers, which, I'm sure that void can't be filled. But we all know when a loved one who's been done wrong has received justice, there is a sense of peace that accompanies that. And I think all that pain and suffering could have been avoided if it weren't for some certain extremely, I can't even think of a word, very selfish people and some agencies. All right. But again, I'm not giving opinions on that. So let me just bring this into the stream. Thank you, DC Primetime. That's very sweet of you. Thank you so much. And I'm so glad you're here. And don't forget, we have to talk later. I gotta tell you something. You'll get a probably a shock out of. I don't know. Okay, I'm just gonna start playing this. This is from Law and Crime Sidebar. And sometimes Law and Crime will content strike you, so please don't, though. Law and Crime, because this revenue is going to Sandy Smith. And well, even if they do, I'll just make up for it. But whatever. I'd rather not have to go through I'd rather they just share. They do good interviews. These interviews are things that people need to know about as we're curious about justice and supporting justice. Okay, here we go.
Stephen since 2015. She and many of the law enforcement officers who worked on.
I'm going to go back a little bit. Now, just so you know, this some of you may recognize this woman here and the guy here. This is Mandy Matney. Am I saying her last name right? Believe it or not, I just very recently found her. And her husband, Joseph, I can't remember his last name, but they are there with Sandy Smith.
Law and Crime Sidebar podcast.
Right there. Well, that's Mandy Matney.
I'm Anjanette Levy. Sandy Smith has been demanding answers in the death of her son Stephen since 2015. She and many of the law enforcement officers who worked on his case never believed that he died as the result of a hit and run. Over the weekend, experts hired by Smith's lawyers performed a second autopsy on Stephen and examined the road where his body was found. Dr. Michelle Dupree oversaw the exhumation of Stephen Smith's body and the second autopsy.
We actually went to the gravesite on Friday. We exhumed the body and then transported it to Tampa, Florida, under police escort the entire time. The second autopsy, was done on Saturday morning. I was present. We had a forensic anthropologist on board, as well as the forensic pathologist who actually performed the autopsy. All of this was viewed and photographed by our law enforcement that accompanied us in the body there. It was then transported back to South Carolina on Saturday and then reburied on Sunday.
You said by police escort. Was the casket driven, or was it flown, or how did this occur?
Well, it was in a vault, and so it was removed. The casket was removed from the vault in South Carolina, and the casket, along with the body, was not opened. It was transported in a van by vehicle to Tampa, and then opened at the second lab.
How difficult is it to exhume a body after almost 8 years? Obviously, depending on the conditions in the grave and what happened in the embalming process, I would assume sometimes these bodies can be well preserved and the work can be done efficiently and effectively. But, is there a challenge that this passage of time poses?
Well, yes, there is always a challenge because this is the second autopsy. So you are relooking at everything that has been done. And then, as you mentioned, the condition of the body may also play a role. We were very fortunate in this case. We actually completed an entire second forensic autopsy, and we were able to get everything that we needed to move forward.
Dr. Dupree won't discuss the results of the second autopsy at this time because the final reports are not complete. But she said she and the forensic anthropologist who examines bones, Dr. Heather Walsh-Haney, and the pathologist who performed the autopsy, Dr. Dan Schultz, were able to come to a conclusion about Stephen's death.
Not knowing what condition we might find the body in, we wanted to make sure that we had all of our bases covered. And as you said, because this is, determining partly on the bone fragments or the skull, we wanted to make sure we had someone there that could look at that.
How difficult is that when you're dealing with injuries to bone? I know that obviously you want to look at something as early as you can in the process, but is that a difficult field, or can you come to different conclusions based on, one person looking at it versus another?
Well, you can always have different. However, again, we're very fortunate that bones last pretty much forever. And we can often tell, especially it's been 8 years, and that is not that long in relative terms for us to re-examine a body. And so again, the bones were in very good condition, and the body was as well. I mean, we were able to see things that we needed to see. And so, because we had the forensic anthropologist there, I think that was just an added level of confidence that we had.
Interesting. So do you think we're getting closer to some concrete answers about Stephen's passing following the second autopsy?
I think so. I think that, again, any investigation, we look at that totality of circumstances, which surrounding the entire death, not just the autopsy, not just the scene, but all the factors taken into consideration. And I think the second autopsy that was done, along with some of the information from the first autopsy, which, by the way, I think this should be said, the original autopsy was very professional. It was a very professional and well done autopsy. So when we take a look at everything, then the investigation can put that together, and that's where law enforcement comes in, and they will be doing, the lead on that investigation. We'll be supporting them any way we can.
I think it's interesting you brought that up. The first autopsy conducted by Dr. Erin Presnell. I read the report.
Okay, please listen very carefully here.
Obviously, she did her due diligence. You read everything that she went through, and it's thorough. It is thorough. She just believed.
Her conclusion is just completely lacking. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm not giving my opinion. Sorry.
For whatever reason, because Stephen's body was in the middle of the road, that
was the only reason she gave, that it was a vehicle accident. Well, at least according to what she said to Agent Proctor. Well, why did you make this conclusion? He asked. I'm paraphrasing, but it's all in the mate report and the case files that were released about a week ago. Jeannie Ramsey and I got our hands on them the moment they were released, right, Jeannie? We were a little confused. We're like, oh my God, it's a miracle. And Molson Man, that's what I was going to send you too, but they're more widely distributed now, but I can still send if you want, for sure. Oh yeah, she just said, oh, well, I determined to be a vehicle accident because his body was in the middle of the road. Really?
This was a death caused by a hit and run, by a vehicle, and despite there being no debris from a vehicle present, and she listed it as,
oh, Molson Man, Jeannie and I have ideas about that too. Molson Man says, and I'm sorry, then we're going to listen to that. Originally, it was rumored that Paul was involved, and then after his demise, the narrative shifted. Yeah, well, Jeannie and I were saying, we were talking about this a while ago. It's just so much seems to be more in Paul's nature to do something, you know, a little violent, a little unpredictable, unhinged. It doesn't seem in Buster's nature to, you know, there's a poll question, please answer it. Was Buster Murdaugh involved in Stephen Smith's death? To me, it doesn't seem like that's in Buster's nature, but I don't know him. I could definitely be wrong, but I have found a connection between, well, hold it. We're going to get to that next. Let's listen to this first. I'm not going to interrupt this time.
thorough. She just believed, for whatever reason, because Stephen's body was in the middle of the road, that this was a death caused by a hit and run, by a vehicle, and despite there being no debris from a vehicle present, and she listed it as undetermined. So I find that a little bit strange, just because of the circumstances surrounding it. But you're saying this was a professional autopsy, and when I asked you a prior question, you said experts can come to different conclusions and disagree.
Well, there's two things, and you make an excellent point. An autopsy is an opinion of that person, the pathologist doing the exam. So it is an opinion. I do say it was a professional autopsy and thorough. And unfortunately, the other thing that you said is that because the body was in the road, and that was just an unfortunate statement, really. If we find a body in a swimming pool, we don't say they drowned because they were in the pool. We say they drowned because of the evidence. And again, that I think it was a misstatement. I think she probably regrets it. And it just got sort of misconstrued from there.
Okay. It was just a statement. I'm sure she regrets it. She was the doctor who was rendering the opinion on the manner of death and cause of death in a perfectly healthy, bright futured 19-year-old young man. Saying, just making a comment offhandedly, as Nicole Kessinger would say, bringing Kessinger back, taquito. And I'm sure she regrets it. No, those aren't appropriate remarks. She was conducting an autopsy and writing a report about the manner and cause of death of a 19-year-old healthy young man with a bright future. This woman is dismissing her, and it's really not okay. If you watched my last couple of videos, you might know why I have such a problem with this. If you haven't, don't worry. We're going to talk about it. What do you guys think?
But it was a very professional autopsy.
There's been so much hay made about the fact that Stephen.
Oh, this is very interesting too. She's going to be talking about the rape kit, and I've actually talked to a couple of people. One who, my friend Dr. Dre, who used to be the assistant coroner in her district, or I can't think of the word right now. And she actually agrees with what is said here, contrary to what I was thinking. But what would I know? I'm not a doctor, never been a coroner. Sometimes I'm wrong.
His genital area was swabbed for potential DNA. It's my understanding, with the circumstances surrounding this case, you have a young man whose body found in the middle of a road, and this could very well be, we don't know what happened. Is that uncommon? Because I would think that that would be part of something, looking at the potential height. I've talked to people who
You're right. Anytime that we have a sort of unusual circumstances, it's not uncommon to do a sexual assault kit on males or females. And the other point that you brought up earlier is that this was signed as undetermined. And as you only manners of death, accident, homicide, suicide, natural, or undetermined. And undetermined leaves that case open for new information to be found and then continued. So essentially, it was never really a closed case. And in this case, a sexual assault kit was done on Stephen for, I think, a variety of reasons. And I think that was a good thing.
As that second autopsy,
It was a good thing, but the rape kit was ordered. It was carried out. The test was either the kit was never tested or the test results were not reported. Now, hold right there, because this is such an important point, and the point I'm about to make is one of the points that I was just talking about that I feel we need to continue to talk about until this truth becomes part of the narrative rather than to be swept underneath the rug. By the way, Rockaways, I see your comments and questions. I think they're great questions, important comments. I want to address several of them. I've starred. I'm going to get back to that. I see them, and thank you for being a critical thinker and so much more. All right. Holdy. Okay. Here we go. Something like this. Okay. We're going to start here. Is stunning. All right, so let's get right into reading the report in the May report about the accident investigation that mentions two boys, Patrick Wilson and Sean Connolly. We'll first be looking at Agent Proctor's report, and you can find a link to this entire case file in the description box for this video. I want to emphasize a point Proctor made in his reports that I talked about in another video that I don't think many people are aware of, and it's critical. Listen to this. Deputy Coroner for Hampton County, Kelly Green, was fired between a certain date range in the summer of 2015, right after she ordered the rape kit for Stephen Smith to be sent to the lab to be analyzed. That rape kit was never tested. It was ordered, it was collected, and it was never tested. And the deputy coroner, who agreed with the head coroner of Hampton County that his death was due to a gunshot wound and not an accident, she was fired after wanting to see those lab results, it sounds like. So Proctor reported that as well. He also says this. I received information from Corporal Doug. Okay, so did you guys all got that? You get your head around that? So the Hampton County coroner, Ernie Washington, and the deputy coroner, Kelly Green, who, by the way, was at the crime scene. She was one of the first there. She was there for a while. She was also present at the autopsy. That coroner and deputy coroner independently pointed out to Officer Moore, who I featured in a video. He is a South Carolina Highway Patrol guy, and he is like committed. He is on this case. He is working this case. He knows something is not right. He's going for it. He's contacting SLED. Hey guys. This couldn't have been an accident, and they just never return his calls. Anyhow, the coroner and deputy coroner reported to him independently at two different times. Yes, it was a gunshot wound. Obviously, it was a homicide. Here, you can see the entry point of the gunshot wound right here, pointing to the exact same location. Okay. Now, we all know that then Dr. Aaron Presnell rules the manner of death undetermined, cause, vehicle accident. So, fine. Not fine, but that's what happened. So I'm sure, well, okay, at first, I do know what happened here with the coroner and deputy coroner because I've read all the reports and everything. There's a lot of information out there right now. There wasn't for a long time. In the past week and a half or so, there has been a landslide of information coming our way. So that's why I'm trying to put these dense little videos together for you. Hopefully find information other places too. Okay, so the coroner and deputy coroner, after Aaron Presnell ruled undetermined vehicular accident, they kind of kept quiet, stepped out of the way. They were deferential, as coroners and medical examiners generally are to one another. But they stayed on the investigation. They still wanted to get as much investigative product as possible. For example, having the evidence that was collected sent to labs for actual analysis or evaluation, right? So Kelly Green was the one who was trying to move that rape kit through because they had it, wanted it to be tested shortly thereafter. And I had a specific date range. I just didn't put it in that video. It's in my fingertips. I can get in a couple minutes. I think it was between July 18th. Do you remember, Jeannie? July 18th, and less than a month later, she was fired. She was fired. She was the deputy coroner who said, gunshot wound, homicide, rape kit, let's do it. Let's get all this evidence analyzed. Something smells bad. This is wrong. Fired. I want to hear from Kelly Green. I personally think that she could be in danger, first of all. But I think she has information that is critical to finding justice for Stephen and peace for all of the rest of us. What do you think of that, man? Yeah. Yep. Fired. Yep. You just play that one minute again. It's important. In the May report about the accident investigation that mentions two boys, Patrick Wilson and Sean Connolly. We'll first be looking at Agent Proctor's report, and you can find a link to this entire case file in the description box for this video. I want to emphasize a point Proctor made in his reports that I talked about in another video that I don't think many people are aware of, and it's critical. Listen to this. Deputy Coroner for Hampton County, Kelly Green, was fired between a certain date range in the summer of 2015, right after she ordered the rape kit for Stephen Smith to be sent to the lab to be analyzed. That rape kit was never tested. It was ordered, it was collected, and it was never tested. And the deputy coroner, who agreed with the head coroner of Hampton County that his death was due to a gunshot wound and not an accident, she was fired after wanting to see those lab results, it sounds like. So Proctor reported that as well. He also says this. I received information from Corporal Duncan about an individual, Daryl Williams. He is stating that his stepson, Patrick Wilson, told him that Sean Connolly struck Stephen Smith. Okay, so we just listened once again to my narrative talking about how that deputy coroner, Kelly Green, was fired. Now, I'm not just making this stuff up, guys. I don't make anything up. And if I do make it up, I'm like, hey, guys, I'm making this up because I'm feeling crazy tonight. It's all in the May report. And yes, I will provide you that link. I have noticed, okay, so when Jeannie and I came across the case file, the moment after it came out, I actually think it was delivered to me by a justice angel because I don't even know how I got it. But anyway, I preserved a hard copy. I've noticed even the ones that are being put on, I don't know, document clouds and whatnot are being changed, or certain pages are omitted. So I have a question for you guys. So I want to find a way to share I don't know if it's the original, but the unchanged version that I have with you guys that's going to be secure and whatnot. I mean, I could do Google Docs, but would that be invading in people's privacy? I don't know. Somebody help me find a way to do it, and it's yours. Okay. Now, and I'm going to check chat for that. If you have an answer, I'd love to hear it. So now we're talking about something different. We're talking about this dude, Williams, who called in a tip about his stepson and his stepson's friend. Please listen carefully. Now, Rockaways asked earlier, show me a picture of Stephen Smith and Eddie Murdaugh, right? And I get that. I certainly cannot show you that picture. I don't think anybody can. Maybe someone can. I don't know. But there are investigative notes and official reports in this case file making those connections. Now, it's not a picture, and I understand a picture says 1,000 words or however many. But listen here. This is just one. Williams stated that his son told him this in confidence and that his son had moved out and he did not know where he was staying. He could only tell me that Patrick attended some Christian school in Ridgeland. I drove down to Ridgeland and went to Step of Faith School. Patrick Wilson was not a student there. I found Legacy Utah Baptist Church School. Patrick Wilson is a student there, but was not in school that day. I then drove to Hampton, attempting to locate Patrick or an address for Patrick. I could not get his stepfather to return any of my calls. Mr. Williams stated that the reason he was passing this information on, are you ready, was because Randy Murdoch told him to call. Who is Randy Murdoch? Randy Murdoch is Alec Murdoch's brother, Paul and Buster Murdoch's uncle, and he's also an attorney who is a partner in Alec Murdoch's, now former law firm. Now get this is also very strange. Additionally, on August 7th, 2015, 1 month after Stephen Smith's death, Randy Murdoch filed a motor vehicle accident lawsuit against Connolly, who was one of the two that we're talking about here, on behalf of his client. The guy's name is Christopher Still. Less than a year later, stay with us, guys. This is dense. It's dense. It's dense. It's dense. Listen, it's just so all twisted up. Later on May 17th, 2016, another Murdaugh attorney, so someone else in the firm, filed another motor vehicle accident lawsuit. And apparently both of these lawsuits were dismissed by Murdaugh-friendly judges in the 14th Judicial Circuit. Believe it or not, that is not the only time the Murdoch family inserted itself into the Stephen Smith investigation early on. To hear what happened, let's listen to the woman who is the reason I'm creating this video. Stephen Smith's mother, Sandy Smith, wrote in a 2016 letter to the FBI that the Murdoch family quickly injected itself into the 2015 investigation. Quote, "This first call my family received after the murder was from the authorities notifying us of Stephen Smith's death," end quote. Sandy Smith wrote in her letter, quoting again, "The second came very quickly in the same morning from solicitor Randolph Murdoch. In fact, he called my ex-husband's cell phone as we walked in the police station for a positive identification. He said he heard of the case and was interested in working pro bono as a liaison." Wait, take that in. Out of Sandy Smith's mouth, Randolph III was the second person to call them. He called her husband's cell phone right after the death notification was made, wanting to take the case pro bono. Please. On between the family and the investigators. Now, I've just got to say, I've done a lot of research into this case, and I've talked to people, and I've talked to people who have talked to people, and not one of those people said that anyone in the Murdoch family was in the business of doing pro bono work. Not one. That is way too much Murdoch connection to the Stephen Smith investigation, especially early on in the investigation. But here, check this out. Here comes the big one that is going to establish a connection between the death investigation to Stephen Smith's death and the Murdoch family for sure. Possibly the death, indefinitely the death of Maggie and Paul. I learned a couple new things just the other day. There's another video coming out and it's focusing on Maggie that's going to follow up with this. And you're going to be like, oh, damn. Paul and Maggie Murdoch. And I very strongly believe the death of Mallory Beach and the boating accident. Listen to this. So now remember, the two people that South Carolina law enforcement is looking into right now related to the Stephen Smith death are Patrick Wilson and Sean Connolly. Okay? So at the time of Patrick Wilson's confession, okay, listen. At the time of Patrick Wilson's confession, quotes, to his stepdad saying, oh, I was driving drunk and, you know, I got these guys confused. One of them told the other one, thought that while he was driving drunk, maybe I could have possibly hit Stephen Smith. And then Randy's like, you know what? You got to make a call. You got to make a report about that now. And so listen, that his stepfather reported at Randy Murdoch's prompting, right? Wilson was facing attempted murder charges. And these charges were later dropped by the office of the South Carolina 14th Circuit Solicitor, Duffy Stone. Hey man, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. You think? Like that? Something like that? No. Do you know who Duffy Stone is?
The card on the bottom is what I got from Duffy Stone. The one on the top, and the one on the top should give you a better. There we go. All right. So the one on the top was what came from my dad when he was solicitor. The one on the bottom is what came from Duffy Stone when he was solicitor.
Many people know that 4 generations of Murdochs had a strong hold on justice and the court system in the 14th Circuit, Judicial Circuit of South Carolina. That is, again, 4 generations. So after Alec Murdoch's grandfather held the office of solicitor in the 14th Judicial Circuit, his father, Randolph III, then finished out, as Alec says, his unfinished term and was solicitor for a time. And then his successor, after Randolph III was ready to retire, was Duffy Stone, who is still the solicitor in the 14th Judicial District of South Carolina. And he is the man that gave Alec Murdoch the badge that he proudly carries around and displays in his window, apparently, and wears hanging out of his pants when he goes to talk to the teenage passengers on the boat in the aftermath of the boating accident when Mallory, Connor, and Miley are in the hospital being attended to because they were badly injured. Who's by his side in the hospital? We know the answer to that. Randolph III. The death of Stephen Smith is in the mind and the awareness of so many people now. A loud call to justice has been made by many. Do you want to hear me pontificate about justice? Oh, hey, why not? It's just like 2 minutes. Voices, and we will see it through for justice for Stephen and for his mother, Sandy. When an imposing and intimidating false idol of South Carolina high society and legal society fell, the powers that guarded the truth began to weaken. Seeing the light of truth replace the darkness of deception is exhilarating, but the truth will only be revealed when we do our part, when we ask the questions. And those questions must be answered. This is important for 2 reasons. Number 1, because in both the investigation of the death of Stephen Smith and also into the deaths of Maggie and Paul Murdoch, the same powerful South Carolina law enforcement agency made mistakes. They made some big mistakes. They had a lot of wins in the investigation, but we cannot ignore that they also made mistakes. Or if they did not just make mistakes, the more alarming, sinister, and unacceptable scenario played out. And that is that same powerful South Carolina law enforcement agency intentionally turned their heads and rerouted the paths of death investigations due to preserving, honoring, or respecting something about their cozy relationship, their too cozy relationship with the Murdaugh family, with the people in the 14th Judicial District's prosecutor's office, and other powerful people in South Carolina. The following audio is a conversation between two officers about the tip that Williams called in upon Randy Murdoch's advisement, letting him know about Wilson and Connolly, the two then teens, that law enforcement is currently taking a look at all over again. Are they wasting their time?
We've tried to get in touch with, but
Okay, so this is the conversation between, let's see, it's Duncan and, I can't remember. Okay, Duncan and just Ginn, is that how you say that? So they are both South Carolina Highway Patrol corporals, however they're characterized. I feel like I get that wrong. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but so it is. And let's see. To get a hold of people from SLED, alerting them to evidence they had found. Okay. Smith's death. Oh, you know what? Hey, it's worth repeating one more time. Of the accident early on, and she was also present. Paint of anything, of broken mirror, of glass, of anything. Speaking of the lack of evidence of a car accident. I also want to tell you, okay, so I spoke to my friend, Dr. Dre, who was a former assistant or deputy or whatever they call it in her state or jurisdiction, coroner, and another person who is a doctor who's done some forensic work. He's never been a coroner or anything. He doesn't do that full time, but he is extremely smart, and everything he has ever advised or consulted me on when checked out to the nth degree has always ended up being just complete like gospel. And then also after that, what was it? Let's see. I'm on spring break right now. So it was after my spring break. So I think it's this past weekend. I heard a couple interviews on, feel like maybe one was Duty Ron. I'm sorry, I can't remember. If anyone's really interested, I can get you the information. I just don't remember at this time. But there were some former medical examiners who spoke in interviews, and these people all said the same thing. All right. In a vehicle accident, when a vehicle strikes a human being in such a way where it's going to cause an injury, like a catastrophic injury, like the one that Stephen Smith suffered, essentially, with some small variations, you're going to see one of two things happen. Of course, depending on the size of the vehicle, the size of the person, and a number of other things, angles, all this, all that. If the vehicle strikes them in such a way below a certain point on their body, and or if the vehicle is angled in X to X degrees, and I don't know what any of that is because I'm not smart like that, but these people are, then the person who is hit is going to roll over the hood of the car and then off to the side, or just straight over the car, sometimes ending on the roof, sometimes like going straight over the car. And if a person is hit as hard as Stephen Smith would have had to have been, if that were even possible, to get the injuries that he had, there would absolutely certainly be signs on the body that indicated that, rolling onto the hood and whatever happened after that happened. If a person was hit at a different angle, different above a certain point on their body, what would happen is the person would go under the car And depending on if the car was turning or a number of other variables, they would either then kind of roll off to the side or they would be run over by the car. And once again, if a person was hit as hard as Stephen Smith would have had to have been to suffer those injuries, there would surely be clear and apparent signs on the person's body that either of those two scenarios happened. None of that was even kind of present when, you know, they came to the scene and then later did the autopsy on Stephen Smith. Capiche? Does that make sense? Do you have any questions about that? I think that's important. Oh, anaphylaxis. Hi. And is Butterfly McCoy still here too? I wanted to say hi to you guys. Thanks so much. And anaphylaxis knows too. She's a former investigator. I can't remember what your official title was, anaphylaxis. I'm sorry, but she is a wealth of knowledge. And I love that you're here. I haven't seen you in so long. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for being here. Yeah. Hi, Butterfly McCoy. Great to see you too, sweetie. I was watching some of your videos recently. You should check out Butterfly McCoy's channel too and her videos. Some of them are just sweet and heartwarming, but she's also a very talented singer and performer, and it's just a great channel. Listen to the background sometimes. TC prep time. I mean, I have questions, but we all know that. I do too. Hi, Sarah T. Welcome. How are you doing? Anything that would indicate there was a vehicle accident at the scene where Stephen's body was found. The only thing in the case file report that points toward Stephen Smith's manner of death not being a homicide and the cause of death as being a vehicular accident is a report from Aaron Presnell. Remember, the county coroner, Ernie Washington, and the deputy county coroner, Kelly Green, both determined that the manner of death was homicide and that the cause of death was by gunshot wound. It should be noted that deputy coroner Kelly Green was at the scene of the accident early. And remember, you tell everyone you can about Kelly Green being fired. We're going to say it again. On, and she was also present at the autopsy. I'll take this opportunity one more time to remind you that Deputy Coroner Kelly Green, according to Agent Proctor, was terminated shortly after she tried to do a deep investigation into Stephen Smith's death, believing that his death was a homicide. The Division of the Duties of South Carolina Highway Patrol and SLED. Okay, dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. This is the big conclusion that I kind of have a series of videos running now that all of the videos are going to come to at the end of the day. Gregory Worth, I don't know if you noticed that I was trying to flash your comment. Do all roads lead to Duffy Stone? I don't know. Do all roads lead to Duffy Stone? Maybe, maybe not. Goes like this. South Carolina Highway Patrol investigates car accidents, automobile accidents, accidents that happen on the roadways. SLED investigates homicide. Although several people from the South Carolina Highway Patrol tried to respond to the scene where Stephen Smith's body was found, including Corporal Duncan and Officer Moore, they were called off time and time again from representatives of SLED. According to the recently released case files, as the investigation was underway and after the investigation concluded, when Aaron Presnell determined that Stephen Smith's death had an undetermined cause and was due to a vehicular accident, members of the South Carolina Highway Patrol tried to get a hold of people from SLED, alerting them to evidence they had found, suspicions they had had, and questions that they wanted to bring up in the investigation. Time and time again, the South Carolina Highway Patrol was ignored. SLED remained in control of the investigation until the very end, when Dr. Aaron Presnell determined that the manner of death was undetermined and the cause was a vehicular accident. And at that time, the investigation was handed to the Hampton County Sheriff's Office, just skipping over the South Carolina Highway Patrol, who had a lot of people who had a lot of questions that had not been answered. Anybody who's been following this case knows that Buster Murdaugh had been named in possible relation to this case from the very beginning. In fact, his name came up more than 40 times in the investigation. Now, I'm not saying that Buster Murdaugh was guilty in any way in the death of Stephen Smith. That issue has remained completely uninvestigated, and nobody can make a true conclusion to that end. Given Randolph's third involvement in this case, remember, Sandy Smith said that he was the second call the family received right after the death notice. She said that he was offering to represent the family pro bono, which seriously nobody believes. And then there was Randy Murdoch's early involvement, encouraging Mr. Williams to make a report to officials that his stepson and his stepson's friend had some vague story about possibly hitting a person while one of them was drunk, and that person could have been Stephen Smith. Is it possible that the family was trying to leverage their power so people would look away from an investigation into Buster Murdaugh or someone from the Murdoch family when they were in fear that the Murdoch name was going to be tarnished? What other reason would both Randy and Randolph III get involved in the death of Stephen Smith? Regardless of the reason why Randy Murdoch and Randolph III got involved in the Stephen Smith death investigation, it is clear that SLED, who was the lead in that death investigation all along, no matter how short the investigation was, turned their heads to the evidence that was clear in favor of the opinion of Dr. Aaron Presnell, the opinion that flew in the face of all available evidence and is proven to be invalid more than ever now that SLED has reopened the investigation into the death of Stephen Smith, and his body was exhumed just this past weekend. Could it be related to the investigation into the death of Mallory Beach? Now, what do you guys think about this? I want to know what you think about this. When the Murdoch family quickly inserted themselves with law enforcement agencies supporting them and helping them along, when they tried to pin the whole thing on Connor Cook, saying that he was the driver of the boat, when all accounts and eyewitnesses stated that no, it was Paul Murdoch who was driving the boat. Could it be that they were trying to pin a crime that one of the Murdochs committed on somebody else? Perhaps that was Wilson and Connolly. And if it's true that Williams, who Randy Murdoch encouraged to make the report to police about his stepson and his stepson's friend, if his stepson, Patrick Wilson, had an attempted murder charge pending, is it a coincidence? Here you go, K-Braze. That murder charge was dismissed by the solicitor of the 14th Judicial District of South Carolina, Duffy Stone. Now, this is not the only investigation where SLED made big mistakes and Duffy Stone played a part. In the next video, we will be looking at that dynamic in the investigation into the deaths of Maggie Murdoch and Paul Murdoch. Thank you for watching. Please remember to click like and subscribe. Be safe, and we'll see you next time. All righty. So what do you think? What do you think about the last question I posed? The attempted murder charge that Connolly was facing being dismissed by the 14th Judicial Circuit of South Carolina's solicitor, Duffy Stone. Do you see any parallel playing out of circumstances that happened, or that they were trying to make happen, the Murdoch family that is, in the Mallory Beach death investigation with this man right here, Connor Cook. I don't know. I certainly cannot prove that. It's a theory that I'm rolling around. Oh, thank you, Gregory. Thank you. I appreciate that. Kay Braze asked, did they ever catch up with the two guys and question them? Well, that's an excellent question. Given the first investigation into Stephen Smith's death was halted, stopped in its booty tracks because of the ruling or the opinion of the medical examiner. All investigation stopped. When somebody officially stops the investigation, which I'm sorry is what happened here. I know that the new medical examiner that we were listening to her interview earlier on, we're going to go back to in a minute, said, it was undetermined. So, technically the case is still open. No, it's not. No, it wasn't. We know how the justice system works. I don't know. We in the United States, I'm sorry, but we know how it works in the United States. If there is not something propelling an investigation to be active, it is stagnant. It is essentially cold and closed because all of this costs money. There is backlog, debt, deficit, and that's just how it works. So her characterization that, it was undetermined, so the investigation was still open. I don't know. I don't know about that. I just don't know about that. Yeah. Oh gosh, no doubt Jeannie Ramsey, Mark Tinsley is going to take the whole dynasty down. Yeah, I hope so. He is the man. Poor cotton top. Oh my God, I can't. Joan, I'm not brilliant, but thank you. That's a very nice compliment. Just about put all the pieces together. I get a little obsessed with things, right? So I'm a little obsessed. Let's see. Hi, Debbie. Welcome. How are you doing? K-Bray says, to me, Murdaugh thought they were in the old time technologies, so advanced now with cameras and locations and people. Actually, speaking up, the old time tricks aren't working anymore. Well, I agree with the first part of that. Definitely K-Braze, absolutely. But people speaking up is what, I think people were not speaking up until Alec was until very recently. Time and time again, investigators mentioned, okay, well, we're not going to comment on the Murdochs. We're not going to say anything about that because they were afraid of retribution. They were afraid of the consequences they would face if they did say anything, which is, eerie in itself. Okay. This is a big question. I'm going to give you a short answer, but I will make sure you are fully informed, and I'll tell you how. I'll send you an email. I will send you an email. Watts, help me. I'm playing catch up, not knowing enough details. It seems the boat, Stephen Smith, and the maid or the housekeeper, Gloria Satterfield, who slipped and fell, accurate quotes, would all be related through the Murdoch family. But how? They were all deaths around the Murdoch family with either shady and or suspicious or straight up like WTF circumstances that happened within a 6-year time period. Each of them. Hold it. If I lose you guys, I might lose you for a second. I just have to reboot something. It'll only take like 30 seconds. Stay right there, please. All right. I should be back. Okay, very good. So they were all around in the Murdoch family in that time period. A Murdoch, well, no. And each of those deaths, if properly investigated and not interfered with, could possibly have significant financial consequences for the Murdoch family. Certainly the death of Satterfield and, well, it did, and Mallory Beach, and with all these connections between Stephen Smith and Murdochs, plural, I believe also in that case. Does that make a little bit of sense? Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I agree. MB Gal says, now that people have started talking, I believe they will continue to talk. Now that one Murdoch has gone down, there are cracks for sure. Absolutely. Thank you, Gregory. Yes, and if you don't mind, please do hit the like button. It helps the channel. I very much appreciate it. And I'm so glad all you guys are here. Okay, I got you, K-Braze. I gotcha. I didn't mean to be picky with your comment there, but I just wanted to make, I thought that was an important point. The people are literally like afraid of this family. McCurtis J making a very good point. Fear is always one of the most effective, I'm going to insert the word manipulation tools. It's a gaslighter. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is a point, so DC Primetime says, I know you feel passionately about this. I'm going to read this comment. Can I speak freely? Of course you can, my dear. And even if I said hell no, you would. So bring it. Just kidding. I love hearing what you have to say. Paul killed a beautiful white woman. Now all the other mafia style killings have a chance at justice. This effing sucks from a sociological and kind of humanitarian standpoint. Yes, and sociological mostly. Not fair for Stephen and Gloria. It's not fair for Stephen. Absolutely not fair for Stephen and Gloria. Or you could also say, or for Mallory, because each of them did lose their lives. But I understand what you're saying. That is an important point. Yeah. What Jeannie said, Butterfly. Yeah, I'm going to send you some resources into all of that. That'll be kind of hopefully a quick Cliff's Notes. Yes. Okay, good. Wilson Man says, check out the book Murdaugh She Wrote. It's available on Amazon. Great read too. Yes, absolutely. I actually made a video where I, referenced that book a few times. And Wilson Man, I got a message from, I believe Kathleen's husband. Is his name Tim? Apparently she has, and Jeannie, you'll be interested in knowing this too. I got the message just a couple of days ago. Kathleen has a new, edition of that book. She updated it. And at the time when he sent me the message, he said in 10 days. So it seems like sometime next week. Do look for that. And yeah, he left some questions kind of open too that I think will be very interesting to find out the answer when we read the book. Yeah, definitely read it, Butterfly. And I would wait till I'll let you know when the next edition, the updated edition comes out. There were some things that needed to be clarified and expanded on. I think that was cool that she did that, and I can't wait to read it. I'll read it the day it comes out. Awesome. Thank you, Molson Man, who says, yes, Tim is her husband, and she's added on since the trial concluded. Watch the obsession. Thank you very much. She does write fast, and she's such a talented author. Yeah. Okay, so now that we've taken all that in, I just want to swing back, make a little loop, bring it full circle. I love it when I can actually do that. Many times I lose my way. Yeah, start right about here. Yeah, see what she has to say. So glad all you guys are here. It's great to see you guys and hear from you guys.
By a vehicle, and despite there being no debris from, I think it's interesting you brought that up. The first autopsy conducted by Dr. Aaron Presnell. I read the report. Obviously,
listen carefully. I take serious issue with this.
She did her due diligence. You read everything that she went,
and I can tell that this the woman interviewing her feels the way I feel.
Through, and it's thorough. It is thorough. She just believed, for whatever reason, because Stephen's body was in the middle of the road, that this was a death caused by a hit and run by a vehicle, and despite there being no debris from a vehicle present, and she listed it as undetermined. So I find that a little bit strange, just because of the circumstances surrounding it. But you're saying this was a professional autopsy. And when I asked you a prior question, you said experts can come to different conclusions and disagree.
Well, there's two things, and you make an excellent point. An autopsy is an opinion of that person, the pathologist doing the exam. So it is an opinion. I do say it was a professional autopsy and thorough. And unfortunately, the other thing that you said is that because the body was in the road, and that was just an unfortunate statement, really. If we find a body in a swimming pool, we don't say they drowned because they were in the pool. We say they drowned because of the evidence. And again, that I think it was a misstatement. I think she probably regrets it. And then it just got sort of misconstrued from there. But it was a very professional autopsy.
There's been so much hay made about the fact that Stephen, his genital area was swabbed for.
Okay, so wait, I just want to hear those last few words again.
Conclusions and disagree.
Well, there's two things, and you make an excellent point. An autopsy is an opinion of that person, the pathologist doing the exam. So it is an opinion. I do say it was a professional autopsy and thorough.
Thorough does not equal accurate or valid. Two of the more precise and trusted scientific method measures.
And unfortunately, the other thing that you said is that because the body was in the road, and that was just an unfortunate statement, really. If we find a body in a swimming pool, we don't say they drowned because they were in the pool. We say they drowned because of the evidence. And again, that I think it was a misstatement. I think she probably regrets it. And then it just got sort of misconstrued from there. But it was a very professional autopsy.
There's been so much hay made about the fact that Stephen, his genital area was swabbed for potential DNA. It's my understanding, with the circumstances surrounding this case, you have.
Okay, so anyhow, that's that. Hey, Ben Hart, how are you doing? Welcome. Nice to see you here. Maybe Buster. Let's see. Didn't like the rumors about him, and Stephen and those two POIs were good buddies with the Murdochs. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, totally possibly. It does seem like, to your point, and this is a good point, and we haven't even mentioned yet, that there were rumors about Buster and his orientation, but then they were in high school, they were teenagers. I mean, I'm a behavioral therapist working with teens. Oh my gosh. Everyone has rumors. They're flying around about them. It's sad, but it's true. But it could be, it could be the linchpin. We don't know, but that's a really good point. I'm glad they brought that up. Thank you. Hey, Midge Elkins, great to see you. And Jennifer Bradford too. Welcome, guys. So great to see you. Yeah. Oh, and I see that Kathy Austin and Melissa Mann are talking about Maggie Murdoch and kind of her character and her personality and her sort of, you know, the composition of her heart. I have 2 videos that are in production. I have 5 videos right now that are in production. I just can't even decide I can decide which topics to go to, because if I couldn't, then I'd have 35 videos in production. There's just so much with this case. Yeah, so that's what's up. But 2 of them are about Maggie Murdoch. One of them is about her personally, her personality, accounts and stories of people that knew her. And those accounts and those stories range from, the research I've done and what I found and a couple people I talked to, sort of leaning towards what I believe to be Kathy's sort of impression, and then Molson Mann's. So, but obviously, of course, my God, she was essentially a very good human being. And even if she wasn't, no human being deserves that fate. So my gosh. Let's see. Oh my gosh, so many salutations going on in chat. Guys, stop being so nice to each other so I can get to some substance. Just kidding. Let's see here. Hello, friend. Hello, friend. Oh, hey, feminine. Feminem. How are you doing? It's great to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Also, sunlight, daylight disinfectant, and the Rockaways, and a few other people I've seen. I don't know if Rockaways comments I didn't get back to. Darn. Well, the Rockaways is questioning the connection between the Murdochs and Stephen Smith, and I think these are super valid questions. There is no definitive, this is it. I can point to it. I can hold it in my hands. I can see it with my eyeballs. I can hear it ding, 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 ring, ring in my ear. There is not that. But there are a lot of roads leading to the highway of, uh-oh, man, you're screwed. We gotcha. Oh, butterfly. Oh, silly, sweet butterfly McCoy. Oh, you're so sweet. Says, folks, it is it is thought that Maggie was killed due to the proximity to her son, or vice versa, or were they both targeted? Is that known? You're so cute to think that anybody has any idea about that. No, it's definitely not known. I mean, there's theories, there's strong theories, there's bullshit theories, there's everything in between. I have my theory, which is, well, it's about to surface. But nobody, of course, knows for sure. What do I have to say about that? I personally think, I will say this. I think that Alec Murdoch thought about his wife's demise many times prior to that fateful, horrific evening. I don't think that he was thinking the same of Paul. I think he loved his children. I think he loved Paul to the degree that Alec Murdoch, who is fully a narcissist with what's the word I'm looking for? It's not coming to mind now, but if it does, I'll let you know. To the degree that he can, be connected to his children and love his children, I think he really, really did love Paul and had a good relationship with him. I think that now we have to remember, so Butterfly McCoy, listen up. So the day of the murders was the day or a day when Alec Murdoch was questioned by the law firms at the time she was a chief financial officer about some suspicious things that she had noticed that, he well knew were going to lead her, if she looked any further, right to, holy shit, what a corrupt mother effer. Look at all of this money that he's been embezzling, stealing, it's filthy, 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 dirty amounts of money from people who were hurt. Hakeem Pickney, who is one of my videos. I'm hoping to get that out soon because I don't think enough people pay attention to Hakeem Pickney. Quadriplegic. The people in horrible circumstances, people that you don't harm them any further because, my God, they have suffered enough. And anybody with one cell that shares any kind of DNA with human being knows that. Not Alec Murdoch. Alec Murdoch. So, what am I going back to here? Okay, so I think that so it was on that day when he had been questioned by the chief financial officer about that. And on that very same afternoon of the murders, he, according to his own testimony, was working on the financials for a hearing that was going to be held 3 days after the murders, by Mark Tinsley's invitation, who is the pit bull attorney for Mallory Beach's family. And at that hearing, Alec Murdoch was no doubt going to be compelled to open up, reveal, turn over, share all kinds of financial information that would open up the ultimate Herculean Pandora's box for that man. Everything would be exposed. He'd be exposed for the gluttonous, greedy, filthy, sloppy, fraudulent SOB that he is and was. And I think he absolutely, totally panicked. In that panic, I think his mind went to what he had thought about doing to Maggie for so long. At the heart of it is always financial motivation for him, and also pride in the family name and in his own sensitive, fragile sense of self. And in that panic, he's such a cowardly little bastard. The easiest way he saw to get out of doing that financial closure for the purpose of the criminal investigation and charges that were pending against his son Paul for being the driver in that boat accident. To make all of that go away, he had to make Paul go away. And that's how a bastard like that ends up killing his son. That's just how I see it. Oh, thank you, Butterfly McCoy. Yes, and I like alliteration too. You're the best. I love that you say that. Is Sis Vicious in his house? Oh, I love Sis Vicious too. So, what do you guys think of that? Hi, Sis. How you doing, girl? So nice to see you. Hey, finally caught alive. Missed y'all. Great to see you, honey. Everyone says hello to Sis. I wonder what pen is under. Wait, I'm trying to figure. Okay, a butterfly. Thank you. Good to know. I do wonder if Maggie wouldn't have been as under acknowledged as Maid and Stephen were Paul not killed also. Oh, okay. I feel ya. Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. Like she was, you know, kind of from DC primetime social hierarchy perspective, sort of, if she was like that expendable. If yeah, okay, I gotcha. That's a very interesting question. It's a very interesting question. Now there's also, you know, indication that, and this is exactly what I think the next video I'm going to be putting out, hopefully tomorrow, is going to be that Maggie Murdoch, you know, had every indication and like inclination knowing what was up, or at least something was up with Alec Murdoch, her husband. She knew for 150% sure there is financial evidence, there is communication evidence, there is, you know, just situational evidence. There is, she absolutely knew. Another piece to that puzzle that's too dense to go into right now is money, 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 filthy, dirty, sloppy, filthy amounts of money. Considering what Alec Murdoch was making through the law firm with his legitimate lawyer fees, through some other sources, he had investments and whatnot. And then all of the money, what was it, like $9+ million he stole over X amount of time. And we know, you know, over a very short amount of time, it was like 3 million in, I think, less than 2 years. If you do the math, if you can do just a little bit of math, just some math, it's very easy to see that the math, there is no math to explain where that money went. Was Alec funneling it somewhere all on his lonesome? Or did Maggie have some part, and I'm not saying it's nefarious or even, you know, a malicious part, and maybe she's just a spender in, you know, kind of burning that money. It's such a big question. What do you guys think? Do you have any thoughts about that? I'd be interested to know as I'm finishing up this video, if you're willing to share your thoughts. Oh, yes. Melissa Man says, anyone coming in, please vote on the poll that is posted. It asks, do you think that Buster Murdaugh had anything to do with the murder of Stephen? Well, with Stephen Smith's death, I guess is the way we should say it. Oops. There we go. Sorry. I'm checking that poll. So right now, we're at 63% saying yes and 37% saying no. Interesting. So I'm not going to keep this open. I'm just going to probably keep this going for about another 10 minutes at the most. But if anybody does have anything to say, as you know, we're kind of closing up, examining all of these topics or touching on these topics, or if you have any questions or whatever, got a message for your peeps, I don't know. And hello to all the people watching the replay. I'm going to put the link in chat. So if you want to come up, please do. You're invited. You personally invited. Come on up if you'd like. I always love talking to you guys. Let's see, who's that? So Steph MP, and welcome. How are you doing, Steph MP? Thanks for answering the question. Yes, Alec, most definitely funneling it, but his brother Randy knows about it too. I 100% agree with you on that for sure. I also think John Marvin is not nearly as innocent or ignorant of the whole situation as he likes people to believe. Guys, oh my gosh. When you start going down all of these roads that, you know, people are rightfully mentioning right now, this is one thing I do know Alec Murdoch said during the trial that is true, possibly the only thing that is true, is, oh, what a tangled web we weave when we first begin to deceive, or whatever he said, which was probably the wrong way of saying it. But yeah, seriously. Link in chat if anyone does want to come up and say anything. You're welcome to. Mhm. And Miguel says, I also believe that, whoops. I also believe that messing with Maggie's phone to get that video since Paul was almost, I also believe he was messing with Maggie's phone to get that video since Paul was almost, the kennel video? Some math, yes. Edward Schwank, that makes you and me both. I could never afford a house with its own private airplane runway. Good God. So funny. Oh my gosh. And how in trial when, he's being cross-examined and he just would not concede to, do you live a wealthy lifestyle? He just was like, I don't know. I don't consider it wealthy. Come on, dude. Seriously. I mean, just for anyone that doesn't know this, let me point out to you how tone deaf the entire Murdoch family is. For example, in the trial when Alec Murdoch's very own life was on the line, he couldn't concede to the fact that he was a wealthy man who lived a wealthy lifestyle. I mean, they had a charter jet. I mean, like, I don't know. But then there's also Randy and John Marvin Murdoch, who have gone on various media outlets, since various points. They've done it at various times where they plead to the viewers, to the public, hey, listen, we're not so different than you. We're just ordinary people just like you with ordinary problems, doing ordinary things. You and I, we're not so different after all. Capiche, caput, da-da-da-da. It's truly laughable. And to some people, I know that it's completely offensive and insulting. Fully tone deaf, the whole family. Oh, and Miguel, he thought Paul used Maggie's phone. I got it. Okay, gotcha. Very good. I got it. That makes sense. Grumpy cat. Of course he is, but that is so disgusting. It makes me literally want to throw up. Says, do you know that Alec Murdoch is receiving lots of love letters in prison from random women? Oh, just like Chris Watts. Disgusting. Gross. Oh my God. Thank you, though. Everybody, just think about that for a moment. Terrible. DC Primetime. How you doing, girl? Welcome. It's so nice to have you up here. I miss you, and I'm so happy to see you, and welcome.
Hey, Kelly. I miss you, too.
Aw.
I know it's been a while.
Yeah.
I've had some stuff going on at work, so I do apologize.
That's okay. I actually haven't been doing too many live streams. I think it was a live stream when you and Validation Boy got in a little tiff or something. I was like, no more live. I didn't do a live stream for like a month and a half. I was like, I just can't take the pressure anymore. But then, I've been really busy at work as well. And then also I've been doing just like a lot of uploaded content. But I'm getting back to the live stream. So
I felt so bad about that.
The scars you guys caused are almost healed. I'm just kidding, honey.
I'm so sorry. I was so rude and interrupted you, and I'm learning and I'm working on myself, and I just
so
appreciate your feedback. Because
he was stepping a little out of line, though. I mean, I will say that I agreed with the spirit of your interruption.
You know, and just because I think I'm right doesn't mean I'm right. You know, Kelly, everybody's entitled to their own opinions, and I get
Did you
that.
guys hear that? Everyone hear? Everybody give a round of applause for our girl DC.
I've been doing some work.
I know.
on myself.
I know that you feel that way though. It's sometimes it's just how with everyone's how we come across. I totally get it. Oh, you're so sweet.
Yeah,
So-
I just need to work on my interpersonal skills on the live stream because it's difficult when there's a panel and stuff. But luckily, nobody else is up here right now, so I get to just talk to you one-on-one. But I do have some opinions on the Stephen Smith stuff that I just kind of wanted to share based on my own like research. I do listen to stuff as I'm going to bed, and I think it seeps in as I'm going to sleep.
Oh
and
yeah.
dreaming. But with regards to the Stephen Smith case, I think there's something that is going to be potentially really beneficial as far as hard evidence if it can make it into trial. And there's going to be a big question of if because of the chain of custody, but there were blue paint chips found in his shoes.
Yeah.
Which I think is going to be possibly tying back to a murder weapon, whether that's going to be a baseball bat, as some have come out and said that that's a possibility because of the rumors that there were 4 or 5 kids in a truck riding around smashing mailboxes with
After a
with
baseball game, and you hear all kinds of the. I feel like that is gonna. I feel like that. I know you're right. I don't know I don't know if I feel like that's rumor, if it has any root in truth. But yeah, people have definitely speculated that. That's for sure.
And on the other side of that, the mailbox. Could it have been paint from a mailbox? That transferred onto the bat and somehow into Stephen Smith.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's brilliant. I never thought of that. Excellent thinking. Yeah.
Right,
wow.
That's Maya, my dog. That's Mob Crew. That's not me. I caught that like one time on a live as I was going to bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
wow. I love Mob Crew. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. Huh.
I don't know what my dog's problem is. I'm so sorry.
That's
but
okay. Hi, Maya.
Yeah, she's very vocal right now. She's like something is amiss at the front yard, and I'm gonna bark at it. But as far as the rumors and speculation, like that's all great. But I'm kind of on the team of Molson right now. There's no hard evidence to tie Buster Murdaugh to the death of Stephen Smith.
No, there's not. There's not. There's absolutely not. It has not been looked into whatsoever. Yeah, I agree.
Maya, settle. Sorry.
It's okay.
But if there comes to be more evidence, like, yes, I still have questions. The FBI letter that came out recently from Sandy Smith, that was very enlightening to me. So I don't know if you have anything in the works to do a deep dive into that, but it was very interesting. Yeah, and it kind of gave me a whole new perspective. But I'm the kind of person.
What did you find to be the most? What did you find to be the most interesting about there? The most intriguing, or surprising?
Stephen's brother had received information directly from a classmate that the Murdaughs were involved, and I want to know more about that because that's testimony. In my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to know more about that. Maybe
if they can locate the classmate, sure is.
Yeah. If that person is willing to talk now and corroborate what he said and kind of go back and reinvestigate everything from a neutral standpoint now that the Murdaugh name doesn't carry such the weight
or if that person is served a subpoena, I mean, that could go that way too.
Well, I mean, subpoenas, you can lie under oath all day.
That's true. That's true. You still have to be willing to tell the truth. You're right.
Yeah, you have to tell the truth. And there's a high burden, but I think that a lot of the stigma of telling the truth for Stephen has been kind of erased because people are actually interested in seeking justice for this young man. I heard his story and I was, and this is kind of from the less logical, more emotional side of DC, but I kind of felt for him. Like he was just living his truth out loud Like he was being himself in a place where maybe his orientation wasn't accepted.
Right.
And he didn't give a damn. He was just so fabulous and so happy to be who he was.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really sad if that identity and that like sense of self had anything to do with his own personal demise. So I feel for him, and I feel for his family, and I want justice for him.
Absolutely.
Whether that's Buster Murdaugh, Paul Murdaugh, we don't know about Paul. Like it kind of seems like that kid was kind of a loose cannon.
Yeah.
But whoever it may be, I hope people are willing to come out and talk and speak their truth, even if it's just a tiny bit of the puzzle, because all these little pieces of the puzzle make up the big picture and lead to conviction, like we saw with Alex Murdoch.
Yes, absolutely. Very well stated, my friend. Yep, absolutely. That's right. So people, be brave, get out there and speak your truth. It's so important. And I hope that people feel empowered and just not terrified to do so now.
I hope so too.
I just want to touch on one thing very quickly. Molson Man and Kathy and a bunch of you guys. Wait, let's see who else.
I'm sorry, I can't see the chat anymore because the kids have commandeered my laptop and I'm on my phone.
So Steph MP and Ben Hart and Kathy and Molson Man and some other people and I don't know who else, other people, Valerie, are all talking about the Gloria Satterfield call to 911. I've been listening to that and everything else a lot recently, like, because, I get a little obsessed. And I noticed a couple, I just want to point out two things very specifically to you, because I went, the first time I really heard them being said, and now every time I heard them being said, I'm like, whoa. So yeah, if you've had that reaction to anything in this call, let me know now or let me know right after. If I pointed out, yeah. So it's only thing like 2.5 minutes or something. So here. Okay, here we go. All right. Yep. This is very, very short. Okay. Oh, wait, hold it. That audio is terrible. I got to find a different one. Sorry. I'm just pulling something off YouTube here. Let's see here.
And I've heard the call before one time. So I did have some thoughts after that first time, but I'd like to give it a second listen just to kind of revise my thoughts.
There you go. Okay, here we go. All right, I'm going to bring it to the stream right now. Everybody listen up. Here is a 911 call reporting, what was reported about Gloria Satterfield, the Murdoch's longtime housekeeper, who, by the way, Morgan Dougherty, who is Paul's longtime ex-girlfriend, claims that Gloria was more of a mother to Paul than Maggie was. He considered Gloria to be the main maternal figure in his life. By a lot of accounts, regardless of what kind of a wonderful or not person Maggie Murdoch was or was not, and I don't know, I did not know her, she had a closer relationship, much closer relationship with Buster than Paul. I mean, I haven't heard anything that says otherwise. If you guys have, please let me know. But by a lot of accounts, yes, Paul considered Gloria to be very much a maternal figure. So I forget why I even brought that up specifically, but here we go.
Come here. 911, where's your emergency? 4147 Moselle Road. Okay, can you give me the address and look and make sure I got it right? Yes, 4147 Moselle Road. Okay, what's going on out there? I'm sorry? What's going on out there? My housekeeper has fallen and her head is bleeding. I cannot get her up. Okay, you said she's fallen. She's bleeding from the head? Yes. Okay. How old is she? I'm not sure, like 58 maybe.
I think she was 52.
Do you know if she fell from standing or not? No. Where'd she fall from? She fell going up the steps, up the brick steps.
Okay, so she outside or inside?
Gregory, you're always reading my mind. Okay, sorry.
Outside.
Okay. How many steps is there?
8.
Okay, is she on the ground or is she up near the
She's
top?
on the ground. She's on the ground. She's on the ground.
Is she conscious?
No, not really.
Is she awake at all?
Oh, shit.
Yes.
Okay. Is she just not like responding appropriately, but she is awake?
Man, she's not responding.
Okay, I've already got them on the way. Me asking questions does not slow them down, man. Knowing if she's conscious is one of the things that the medic needs to know. If she's responding
Not
at
really.
all to you.
No.
Okay, so she's not responsive at all.
Well, I mean, she's mumbling.
Okay, so she is somewhat conscious. Is she breathing okay?
Yes.
Is she bleeding from anywhere?
Yes, her head.
Okay, are you guys able to control the bleeding?
No.
Can you
I
put
haven't
a
even
clean
tried.
rag or anything on it?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, is she bleeding from like her face, the back of the head,
I've got
her
an
neck?
ambulance coming. Sir, my name what?
Where exactly is she bleeding from on her head?
I'm not sure. At the top of her head.
Okay.
What's it?
Okay.
Oh,
Can-
gosh.
What happened?
She just fell back down. Can I get off this phone so I can go down there?
Can I have your name and phone number? Are you able to bring the phone down by her?
What?
Are you on a cell phone where you can walk down there
I'm
and
on
talk?
a cell phone. No.
Okay, can you bring it with you so we can ask her some questions about what kind of pain she's having?
Hello?
Yeah, can you ask the patient what kind of pain she's having?
Ma'am, she can't talk.
Okay, do you know?
She's cracked her head and there's blood on the concrete and she's bleeding out of her left ear.
Okay, she's bleeding out of her ear.
And out of her head. She's cracked her skull.
Okay. All right, the other lady said that she had tried to stand up and fell down again.
No, I was holding her up. And
Okay.
she told me to turn her loose and she was trying to use her arm, but then she fell back over.
Okay, do you guys know who she is?
Yeah, she works for us.
Okay, do you know if she's ever had a stroke or anything before?
Ma'am, can you stop asking her these
I
questions?
already have them on the way. I already have them on the way. Me asking questions does not slow them down in any way. These are relevant questions that I have to ask for the ambulance. One of my questions is, has she ever had a stroke?
I don't believe she's ever had a stroke now that I know that.
Okay. Okay, is she able to talk to you guys at all, or is she unconscious now?
She's not unconscious. She's just mumbling.
Okay.
I believe she's maybe hit her head and maybe has a concussion or something.
Okay.
Maybe.
Do you know what her name is?
Gloria Satterfield.
You said Sanderfield?
Ma'am?
You said Sanderfield?
Satterfield.
Satterfield. Okay, what's the house look like out there?
It's offset off the road.
Okay.
It's a big house, got a wide driveway.
With a long driveway?
Yeah.
Is there a gate or anything down there that they're going to need to come through?
There's 2 big brick columns that have to come through.
Okay, but there's no like gate code or anything that they need?
No, ma'am. And tell them that they can look for a fellow on a 6x6 Ranger.
Okay.
Waiting on them in the road is green. You know what they probably know what the Ranger looks like.
Yeah. You said like
Fella's
green.
got on a black sweater,
Okay.
a hat, and pants.
Okay. All right.
All
If something changes with her, if she loses consciousness or anything like that, I need one of you guys to call me back right away, okay?
Okay, well, how long is it going to take? Because this take us.
That I don't know. I've had them on the way since Maggie first called me. They were toned right away.
Okay.
All right, but I think they're coming. Hang on 1 minute. Let me check. They're coming from somewhere on Belt Highway in Ruffin, okay?
Okay, so Did you notice anything specific, DC?
I did.
Go ahead.
I wrote down notes as I was hearing it again.
Cool.
The first thing that struck me was just the overall tone. It was a very matter-of-fact tone from Maggie, just kind of seeming like business as usual, or just maybe annoyed. The second thing, well, I mean, she came out with the address first thing, which seems helpful, right? But then she goes off, and whenever the 911 operator asks her a question, she says, "I'm sorry." If we look into like statement analysis, and I don't want to dig too deep into this because I might go into a rabbit hole, but if we look into like Peter Hyatt or the behavior panel, or anybody that's really analyzed 911 calls, and we look at the Casey Anthony 911 call, she comes out and says, "I'm sorry," when asking her to repeat herself. So I think that's maybe an embedded confession or an admission of guilt. Also, doesn't know her age.
After working, Gregory made the point, after working for them for 28 years, that's bizarre.
That's weird. And Paul puts Paul on the phone instead of putting the phone up to Gloria's ear. And then Paul kind of takes over, and it seems kind of like, okay, she fell down the stairs. She's bleeding out of the top of her head and out of her ear. I think that's weird.
Yeah.
If you're falling backwards down the stairs, I think that your injury would probably be on the back of your head. But I don't know about her autopsy report or her findings. As far as I know, Eric Bland or whoever the attorney is and the Satterfield boys believe that it was an accidental death, and they don't suspect any foul play. So I'm going to leave that to them. But to me, it sounds odd that the wound is on the top of her head if she fell backwards down.
Absolutely. And that's what a lot of people in chat are saying too. Now here, I want to point out just 2 points in this call that really stood out to me. Let me just see. I have the timestamp for one of them, but let me see if I can find that one. Whoops.
Rag or anything on it? Yeah, I got it. Okay, is she bleeding from like her face?
Oh wait, well there's actually 3 because, okay, hold it. I just hit that one too. Okay. All right.
Is she bleeding from anywhere?
Yes, her head.
Okay, are you guys able to control the bleeding?
No,
Can you
I
put
haven't
a
even
clean
tried.
rag or anything?
She's like, are you able to control the bleeding? She's bleeding profusely from her head. No, and Maggie says, did you hear that? No, I haven't even tried. What the fuck? By the time you can get to a phone and make a 911 call, you have not tried to put pressure on somebody who is bleeding from the top of her head and her ear?
Yeah, that struck me too. I wrote that down
that
as
just,
well.
Yeah.
Haven't even tried.
Yeah.
Like, wow. Okay.
I
don't know how old she is.
I
didn't even try to stop the bleeding on the top of her head, which is weird. I think it's all kind of weird so far, personally.
I think it's weird too. A couple in the comments here. Steph P says nothing was mentioned about the dogs by Paul or Maggie. Excellent point. I didn't even think about that, because the official story, once they got their stories together, was that Gloria tripped over a dog and somehow fell up the stairs, resulting in a fatal injury to the top of her head. Melissa Mann makes another great point that I did not know. Gloria's birthday was literally 2 weeks prior to the event. Surely they should have known that, therefore have known her age. Of course. Great point. Great fact.
Yeah, I don't really think that the dogs came into play until Alex was involved at some point. I think there's dispute as to whether or not he was present.
Yeah.
But I think he did do a deposition in which he said he was present and noted that the dogs caused her to trip in order to secure financial benefit from the insurance claim.
Yep, that's right. That is right. Okay, great point. Okay, now next makes you go,
Good.
And what you said too, No Way. I liked your conclusion as well.
Okay.
What's it that way? Oh, gosh.
What happened?
She just fell back down. Can I get off this phone so I can go down there?
Can I have your name and phone?
So, okay, so wait, hold it. I got to go back a little bit.
Yes, her head.
Okay, are you guys able to control the bleeding? The medic needs to know if she's if she's just not like responding appropriately, but she is awake.
Man, she's not responding.
Okay,
You gotta go back.
Okay, so she outside or inside?
Outside.
Okay. How many steps is there?
8.
Okay, is she on the ground or is she up near the
She's
top?
on the ground. She's on the ground. She's on the ground.
Is she conscious?
Now, all right. I think when she's going, she's on the ground. She's on the ground. She's on the ground. I think that when I put together, what Paul says I find suspicious, it's just the way that she's saying that. I think that, Paul is doing something that is not told, that is not talked about. I think whatever he is doing, I don't think it was malicious. I think it made it worse and probably ultimately caused the injury that caused the fatal wound that caused the death of Gloria Satterfield. So wait, just here.
8.
Okay, is she on the ground or is she up near the top?
She's on the ground. She's on the ground. She's on the ground.
Is she conscious?
So she's on the ground. She's on the ground. She's on the ground. I think at that point, I think that's when, because you can hear, and I want to work with, I'm sure if you could really hear anything in the background, because you can hear Paul's voice a little bit, but you can't really sing. I'm sure someone would have done it by now. But Paul is talking. I think that's when Paul is trying to stand her up or do whatever he's doing, and that things go kind of wrong. But now, more importantly, and most standoutish to me is listen here to Paul.
Okay. All right. The other lady said that she had tried to stand up and fell down again.
No, I was holding her up. And
Okay.
She told me to turn her loose.
Well,
Okay. All right. The other lady said that she had tried to stand up and fell down again.
No, I was holding her up. And
Okay.
she told me to turn her loose, and she was trying to use her arm, but then she fell back over.
okay, so they
Good
are
call.
maintaining that she is. They both say at different times that she is unconscious and that she is not awake, and then they both walk back on it. Paul being a little more like with the story he wants to tell, or he's telling more of the truth. But he says, oh yeah, I tried to stand her up and she told me to turn her loose. And she started like wiggling around trying to get out. Wait a minute. How is somebody who's not conscious and not awake doing all of that?
Well, I think they say that she's mumbling, right? So
Mhm.
she's semi-conscious. But the fact that she is refusing help of the nearest people to her
Yeah,
speaks volumes.
absolutely.
If Paul is trying to help her or render her aid, and she is telling him or mumbling to him to turn her loose, I think that is something that just screams red flags to me.
But well, here's the thing. I know I fell like a few years ago. I just came over the flu. I just went to my local YMCA to sign my kid up for soccer because you'll be surprised by this, but I always signed him up late. And I was friends with the guy who ran the program. He's giving me a hard time. Anyway, I still had a fever. I went in there. It was like 10 degrees out. I had a winter coat on, had a bunch of layers on. Once I got inside of the hot YMCA lobby, I just passed out. Timber, felt straight backwards, cracked the back of my head open. Had to get like 12 or 13, no, I don't know, tons of staples, tons of them. It was terrible. And when I came home, I looked like I was from the Carrie, the movie. It was terrible. And when I first woke up, because I lost consciousness for a short time, there's actually a doctor who is my childhood doctor was right there, which was so cool. But I remember looking up at him and, somebody else that was like trying to help me out. And I started screaming and flailing and freaking out. Sometimes if you do fall and lose consciousness and hit your head, you have confusion. So you will kind of refuse help. But that is a good point though, DC. But I'm just like kind of being the devil's advocate on that one. But I think that, that he's like, I just felt with the way they were describing her state of consciousness and awakeness and wakefulness, to say, oh, she's, wait. I got to figure out exactly what he says again. I kind of forgot the words.
No, I was holding her up. And
Okay.
she told me to turn her loose, and she was trying to use her arm, but then she fell back over.
Okay, but I was trying to hold her up, but she told me to turn her loose and was kind of wiggling around or something like that. I mean, told me to turn her loose. That's like kind of more than a mumbled, kind of startled from a moment of unconsciousness utterance. So I think that to me, that really stood out, and I think it's material, but
I
what do you
agree.
think?
I mean,
Yeah.
I think that either she thought she was okay, right? Like you were saying, in a moment of confusion, or she was just like, turn her loose. And my mind keeps going back to, I don't know if it was the HBO or the Netflix documentary, which I watched after the trial, you guys. I didn't want to be biased during the trial. But I remember her sister saying, like, or not saying anything, but while she was in the hospital, like before she actually passed away, like her sister went in to visit her, and it seemed like the sister was indicating that Gloria wanted to tell her something but couldn't. So that's kind of where my mind goes, and it's probably a bias.
Who was trying to tell her something but couldn't? Could you say that again?
So Gloria was trying to tell her sister
okay
something while she was, in intensive care at the hospital after suffering the injury at the bottom of the stairs. And one more thing about the stairs, just from a true crime perspective, I think it's very interesting that she knew, like Maggie knew, 8 stairs, like right away.
Yeah.
I mean, if we think about the staircase and the 911 call from Michael Peterson, that just kind of stood out to me from like a true crime perspective. Like he's like, I don't know how many stairs. Like, just get over here.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right, totally.
But she's like 8. Like she was just so decisive.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't feel like Maggie wanted to be there. Like in making the call, she handed the phone to Paul, and she just kind of seemed annoyed. And, I'm not saying anything like nefarious went on there, but it just kind of seems like she couldn't be bothered is kind of the tone I'm picking up
absolutely. Absolutely. No, I totally agree. No way says I count 7 stairs. So I want to read a couple comments here. Molson Man, I totally agree with you. Molson Man says a 911 call was made within the house, not by her side as one would expect. They're basically watching her from a window or a doorway. I got that feeling. Well, that's what's up. And I felt that strongly too. I mean, I can't imagine somebody falls, cracks their head, they lose consciousness, or they're bleeding badly. I mean, you're right by their side. I mean, there's no other choice if you're a normal human being. Macrotus J says,
and she didn't even try. She didn't even try to render aid.
She didn't.
Like,
exactly.
I didn't even try. Like,
I know. That's just mind-boggling.
This helper, like servant person, fell on my property. Like, can you just come please take care of it? That's kind of
could you please come clean
vibe.
it up? Yes. Yeah.
That's kind of the vibe I'm getting from her. And I'm sorry.
Agree.
Like, I know she's a victim too. But it is what it is. That's what I'm getting from this call.
I agree very much. McCurtis J says, how good is the Netflix documentary on this case? Excellent. I recommended it like to high heavens for like I don't know, after I watched it for like a week or two. I think it's most excellent in talking about the nuances of Mallory Beach in the boat accident. But it also, I believe, gives great insight into the intimate details of personal life of the various people in the Murdoch family. The one I think we don't get any insight into really is Buster. And also Alec and Randolph III's hurriedness and willingness and compulsion to run to anything that could cause trouble for the family and the family name and wipe it clean.
To that point, Kelly, real quick.
Eraser pad. Go ahead.
To that point, real quick, I remember in the FBI call or the FBI letter that Sandy had sent with regards to Stephen's death after not getting anywhere with the investigation, the thing that most stuck out for me was the amount of time that had lapsed between the time that she got the call and the time that Randy Murdaugh III or whatever, Alec's brother, had arrived on the scene. It was like in less than a minute. And it was just, it was bizarre. It was bizarre to me. Like, how did he know? Like, do they have police scanners in their car? Like, are they that heavy of an ambulance chaser, or are they tipped off by local law enforcement? That's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yep. No, totally. I am so super with you on that. Yep. I absolutely agree. Let's see. Alicia, hi, welcome. How are you doing? Says, I wish we heard more about Maggie. It all seems so strange to me, this woman. So I was just saying earlier, like a while back, I have 2 videos in production right now, all about Maggie, because based on the comments and emails and everything else that I've heard from people, that was a big area of interest and area of mystery. And I felt that way too. So, you know, I got obsessed and got a couple videos coming out. So hopefully I'll be able to answer some of your questions. And I'd like some questions answered still myself, because there still is quite a bit of a mystery.
It's like a big question mark. Like, we could kind of understand the motive if we're looking at the trial of Alec Murdoch or Alec Murdaugh or whatever, however you say his name. But we can kind of understand sort of the motive for why he would want to kill Paul, because he was such a liability and he had caused like the first string to be unraveled from his intricately woven web of deceit and lies and murder and I don't even know, like
all
just
terrible
financial
things in the
crimes.
world.
Yeah, all the worst things.
Yes.
But there's like a big question, like why Maggie though? Like, why would, and from all accounts it kind of seems as though she was an unwilling person to have shown up to Moselle that night. But she felt like a duty as the spouse to be there based on her sister's testimony at trial. And I have a big question as to why her? Like, why her?
Well, so my perspective on it is that I think that he had been thinking about you know, Maggie's demise for a while. I don't think he thought so at all about Paul until that very day, when he, according to his own testimony, was getting the financials together for the boat case, when he was going to be in court with Mark Tinsley 3 days from them, when Mark Tinsley had filed a motion to compel the opening and release of all of his financial records. I mean, the list is comprehensive and exhaustive. I think at that point he realized exactly, I think he probably always knew, because he was a smart man in some ways, but he was definitely a master of, you know, turn the other cheek, sweep it under the rug, pretend it doesn't exist, and everything will be fine. I'll just take a few more pills, you know? So,
and play the victim.
Exactly. And manipulate people and gaslight them and have no conscience, or because I'm basically like Satan material. But
yeah,
so
he wore the mask well. I mean,
he did.
He
but
did.
I think it wasn't till that very day when he realized, oh my God, like, you know, he could, there was, you know, it was too big to sweep under the rug. You know, it was too big for him to turn the other cheek, because he couldn't even move. He was paralyzed in fear of what he had done, of people knowing what he had done, and of having to face, I think just a little bit, he was aware of having to face the music for what he knew he had done. And I don't think he'd really ever gone there ever in his life, because in his mind, and according to everyone around him, he was always right. He was a great guy. He was perfect. He did no wrong. He was Alec Murdoch, you know, and I think I think that did something to him that, you know, I think he was in a panic. It's absolutely not an excuse. And that moment, it was like, you know what? The only way I can clean this up is to get rid of the source of the problem. If there is no Paul Murdaugh, there is no criminal charge. There is no criminal trial about the boat case. There is no hearing in 3 days. There is no motion to compel my financial records. And I'm in safe territory. And I think in that moment, just like that, buys more time, or however he's thinking, that like it was a done deal. I think he had that emotion that reactive thought, that, immature, like, pathological, illogical solution, as he often did, and he implemented it. To me, is the perspective of behavior, which is, for those of you who don't know, that's what I do. It's my profession. It follows a core constitution pattern of who he is and what he does. So I think Maggie, he had been thinking about for a while. I think Paul, just that day, it hit him, and it was a done deal hours and hours before it happened. Crazy, I know, but I think that's what happened.
Yeah, and it's really hard to put yourself in the position of a person who's not thinking logically, as a person who's watching and trying to think logically, like trying to explain it through regular behavior patterns. I mean, if this is a person who is, on some kind of drug withdrawal, as it seemed to have played out in court, I don't know if that's the case, but the day before he was going through withdrawals, and there may have been some kind of issue where, they had taken his pills or something like that. There's that layer of it. Plus what you were speaking to before, like, as far as maybe planning this out for Maggie months in advance, either because her name was on some of the properties and he needed those as leverage in order to make good on some of his misdealings financially.
Yeah, I mean, he had if he killed Paul, he got rid of this huge financial catastrophe. If he killed Maggie, then he had, financial windfall, or maybe not that much financial gains at stake. And it seems like that was just always the end goal for him. Yeah,
or leverage to buy more time. I mean, obviously in the short term, there's probate court and everything like that, and it wouldn't have been like a windfall, but it would have given, like, his creditors basically an excuse, like, oh, like, my family just got murdered by these vigilantes or whatever from the boat case, and I'm expecting this, and I'll make good on these debts, right? But I think also with regards to Maggie, I heard that maybe there was some kind of attachment disorder or attachment issue with she and Paul.
Yes.
From what I've heard, and I don't know this to be true, maybe Kathleen would have some more knowledge on this, but as far as her pregnancy with Paul, I think that it was a rough one from what I've heard. And like, she really never attached to the baby, and that's kind of where Gloria stepped in and was kind of the surrogate mother for Paul. Not saying that has any bearing on Gloria's death, I don't know, but just as far as understanding, like, the dynamics there. And with regards to Morgan's testimony in the documentary on Netflix, that was very telling. Just the kind of physical abuse that she suffered at the hands of Paul, a young man. I mean, he was like, what, 20 years old, 19, 20 years old. Like, he had to learn that behavior from somewhere. And it's just, it really makes me wonder what the actual dynamics were in the family growing up, as far as, not only just letting him get away with everything and covering it up and fixing it, but what he witnessed maybe in his own upbringing.
Yeah, totally. These are all, I think those are all good, valid points. Oops, sorry, I lost my earbud there.
Sorry, it's a lot. I had a lot of thoughts, and I'm sorry if I'm overwhelming everybody in the chat right now. But
no, that's okay. I was just gonna I actually was just like looking at the time, because I've got to keep these shorter, first of all, but I've actually got to get going because I have an early appointment tomorrow. But those are all, like, really important questions. I just want to, one more thing, and stay on for a minute if you can. Kathy Austin says, and please mention that she was selling her items on Posh App and her housekeeper. Yeah, so Maggie was selling items on Posh App, like a Coach bag or something that you think would be more valuable. She sold for $27. She had one personal bank account. It had $57 and change in it. She had a joint bank account with Alec, and her share of that joint bank account was around $2,000, a little bit more, which, you know, isn't, these people were supposed to be like filthy rich, right? And now we can, in my opinion, we can make several different things out of that. When I first stumbled upon all of this and some more information, I thought, oh, well, I know what that must be this. But okay, she has $57 in her bank account. Let's just look at that one issue. Is that because she has $57 in her bank account? Oh, and she had just written a check to a charity, and that from their joint account, and that check bounced. Apparently, this was just a few weeks before the murders. Apparently, this was a very big moment for Maggie Murdoch. And apparently, she made a very, for as much as she did, she made it a very big moment for her husband, too. I think for me, like that's when he started to think, you know, that's something that I've been thinking about. I think that's going to have to happen sometime soon. You know, all of these things were happening. The bounce check for the charity kind of stands alone. That to me means, financial crisis. Now she is starting to know for sure. But the $57 in the bank account and some other things, is that because someone drained the account? Did she drain the account because she really was seeing a divorce attorney and she was planning on leaving him? We don't know. Did he drain the account because he had access to freaking everything and he had his little grubby, filthy, dirty paws all over everything and everyone, because he was running out of money, or he knew what was going to happen, so she doesn't need any money, or whatever reason Alec Murdoch's mind can justify? Or was it just that they were dead effing broke, even though he had stolen $9 million and made millions and millions of dollars, and who knows how that works out, because the math, Butterfly McCoy, that math, even a little bit of, doesn't work.
Math, yeah.
Math
is hard.
There are some financial solid facts, but then when you really start to consider the possibilities for the reasons why, somehow this family always is able to put up a screen so we can't see. Yeah, exactly. So we can't see, you know, the wizard, you know, behind the screen, who is really just a little disgusting, runny nose, sloppy man, you know. And
yeah, he's got a runny nose for sure.
He does. Oh God. So
like, give the man a tissue.
I know.
The poor jury. Oh my God. They were like probably like, I'm wearing my mask to court from now on.
Dude,
what is going on?
He was all kinds of like
he was leaky.
Weird. He was very leaky.
Well, I know there were rumors floating about that she had hired a forensic accountant to look into their finances. Yeah. Don't know if that was substantiated. It didn't come up in trial, so I can't lend too much credence to the rumor with most things. But we do need to kind of keep these things in the back of our head. Obviously, there was a huge financial motive. I think maybe there was probably another motive, that she just didn't discipline the children. And to another point, which kind of speaks to the premeditation of Maggie's murder that I heard somewhere, was that Tinsley, Mallory Beach's attorney, had offered Alec some kind of deal where Maggie would not be implicated for her negligence, and he had turned it down. And like, if you're not even willing to save your own wife, you know.
No, that's right. I believe
thing.
I believe that story is absolutely true. Yep.
But I'm going to leave it there, Kelly. I love you guys. I hope you guys have a good night. Get some rest. I'm going to get some rest too. I know we have jobs and stuff.
Yes. I know.
But
love you, Job. All right, you too, honey. Great to see you. That's so funny. Aw. So Maggie didn't have a job. She had no job. But Alec says, Maggie may not have worked, but let me tell you, she worked. I promise you, she worked to make me and Paul. And oh my gosh, I've heard that little spiel of his so many times. He's definitely runny when he's talking about that on the stand. Oh, yes. Thank you so much, CC, for coming up. It was great to hear from you. Loved your thoughts and questions. And yeah. Hey, K-Braze, welcome back. um, I know, I agree. Yeah, how bad was his opiate addiction? Nobody knows. I do believe that he really did have an opiate addiction. I know some people have said, oh, he kind of modeled what he said about what that's like after Johnny Depp, but I don't know. I mean, in my line of work and also knowing people personally who have gone through that, I just believe his symptoms and his account of his symptoms and other people's description of some observable, whether they knew it or not, indicators of being an opiate addict. I just believe all that to be spot on and clearly authentic. How bad was it? I don't know. But yeah, I agree. I don't think all of his money went to that. It was too much money. I actually did the math about, I have it in my notes somewhere. Based on what let's say we took him for his word, which one should obviously never do, but let's just say for the sake of a little bit of math, we did. For what he said he was taking as far as pills. And then I'm probably like being flagged by, I don't know who right now, because I was looking up on a couple different sites, the street price for the substances he said that he was taking, because obviously he wasn't getting that all from a legitimate doctor. And we know that we know things. Can't go into it right now because I'm getting tired and got to end this soon. But it would have meant that he spent, even with his ridiculous account of, I took like 60 a day, there was still so much money that was not accounted for. And by the way, they were behind on the Adesto and Moselle mortgages, pretty like kind of more than most people would ever be comfortable with. I have some financial records to that end that'll be in one of the next videos on Maggie Murdoch that I when I finally get around to finishing those up, editing them and stuff. Oh my God, so dense, so much information. Yeah, Alicia, let's see. Gillard, I hope I'm saying that right. And it says the only picture Paul had in his wallet was of Gloria. A couple other people have mentioned that too, and thank you so much. According to Morgan, at least I know Morgan, his ex-girlfriend said that. And and also someone else on the Netflix. I don't know if she said that Netflix, but was it Morgan's mom? I don't know. Someone else said that. It was an adult, meaning not like one of the Paul's generation aged people. Oh. Oh, why do you think that Maggie thought Alec was up to something? Do you think that is like a really long story with a very complete answer, Miss Kathy? And I think we're gonna have to wait till my video that should be coming out very soon to answer it, because I got to get going because I got to hit the hay. But thank you guys so much for being here. It's great to see everybody. You guys have really great questions, always really good thinkers. Thank you so much for contributing and being here and adding to the discussion. It always adds to, whatever it is I'm working on. So it makes, whatever I put out on this channel so much better because you're here and you guys are awesome. I seriously really appreciate it so much. Yeah. Yes. And remember, justice for Stephen, peace for Sandy Smith. Please show her support however you can. And, the revenue of this live stream and half of the revenue of all of my Stephen Smith uploads is going directly to Sandy Smith. And I always produce receipts of that. Or you can just donate to her GoFundMe directly if you feel more comfortable with that. And if you can't, obviously, totally, okay. Send her some love if you wish to or not. But I know myself and this channel is behind her all the way and just knows that she needs all the support in the world right now on so many different levels to get through this. I can't even imagine. I will never forget when I heard that she had set up a GoFundMe for the exhumation of her son's remains. It was like, it was like a moment in my life I will never forget. It was like a big moment in my life, like one that will always stick out in my mind. And I just can't. Yeah, we just got to support her. She deserves it. And so does Stephen. So, yes, it's all about Stephen. He deserves justice. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. You're gonna have a ton to say, my Maggie. But you know what? I couldn't get a read of you, Molson Man. I thought you said something towards the beginning where you were like oh, Maggie's a sweetheart. I don't care what anyone else says. Then I just read a couple other comments where I thought you thought quite the opposite. What are your true feelings? I mean, you were probably being sarcastic in one or the other, but I didn't catch it because I got a 3-ring circus going on at the moment. But I can't wait to read all the things you have to say. About Maggie. Do you think she's a wonderful woman, or do you think she's an opposite of that somehow? Yes, and thank you all for being fabulous. Justice for Stephen and all the other victims. And, you know, my heart always goes out to the surviving family members. Oh, thank you, MB Gill. You're so sweet. Oh, thank you, Alicia. Thank you guys all for being here and everyone watching the replay. And subscribers, members, friends, true crime, or I'm sorry, justice seekers, true crime obsessors. Yes, I agree, Sheila. In that tree video, there's something wrong with Alex's face. It doesn't look right to you. Let me take a look at it. I actually just uploaded that as a short earlier today. He does like chew, like dip. Do you think it could be that? Yeah, I feel like he's got a big like wad of chew in his cheek. But here, let's take a look. I didn't notice that before, but now that you say it, let's see. Which, by the way, is so gross. Ugh. Sorry if you're a tobacco chewer, but ugh. Let's see here. He does look different. I see what you, Cape Rays. He does like look different. I feel like I maybe see what you're picking up on. Let's see. That's as big as I can make that right now. So wait, maybe. Nope, that's just me holding. Here we go. Yeah, that's the best I can do. Yeah, I can't really. Yeah, I'm not sure. I know. I think I see that though. But okay. No, I'm not a Maggie guy whatsoever. Okay, so I think the first thing I saw was just sarcasm. Gotcha. I was surprised. Oh boy. Let's see. Oh, hey, thanks, Molson Man. I appreciate that. Thank you. Oh, thanks, guys. You guys are being so sweet. Thank you. Aw, thanks for being here, Kathy, and everyone else. Thank you guys so much. You guys are awesome. The best. Yes, please do hit the thumbs up if you don't mind on your way out. Have a good night, Macrotis J. You were the first one here. Okay. All right, guys. Everyone, take care. Everyone, please be safe. Email me if you have anything. And I hope to see you soon.
What bridge is it? Paul, what bridge is this? Paul, what bridge?
911, where's your emergency?
We're in the boat.
Okay.
We have someone missing.
Okay. Hang on 1 second.
Think about me one more time before you go. Someday you'll know. Someday you'll know. You know what I'm going to say. I've been feeling this way for far too long. And now you're gone.
On February 24th, 2019, a boat crash on Archers Creek in South Carolina took the life of Mallory Madison Beach, who at the time was only 19 years old.
What bridge is it? Paul, what bridge is this?
Hey, I'm with Department of Natural Resources. Who was driving the boat?
Crash out 67.
The last time I grabbed my girlfriend and got down in the bottom of the boat, Paul was driving. Paul was driving? Yes. I begged and begged and begged and begged to let me drive.
1 second.
Uh-huh. And where were y'all coming from?
Paul.
Huh?
Paulky.
Paulky? Okay. And Paul was driving, not Connor?
Someday you'll